You're watching Drakewing Gaming. Enjoy the video. Hey guys, Nary here from Drakewing Gaming. Some of you know me on Twitter, The Gaming Dragon. Today I'm coming back at you another Let's Play episode of Echo, Carl's Path. So, we're in this spooky, creepy basement, I guess? It looks like a whole house from the screenshots I'm seeing. It's, and like maybe smoke monsters? Just a whole lot of weird stuff is going on right now. It's very, very different than the previous runs I've done. But anyway, guys, let's just jump right back into it. Please sit back and enjoy. Let me entertain you for the next 20 minutes, and let's jump right in. Alarm saying you're up, and let's go. Okay. All right, let's do it. Okay. We start trying the doors on the right, and this time things are different. The first door opens up to a wall, just an extension of the beige color of the wall surrounding it. We stare at it for a few moments, and for the first time I get a deep, unsettling terror in the pit of my stomach. I managed to keep it from rising to the surface, but all this bizarre imagery combined with the surreal haze is making me feel sick and claustrophobic. Bummer! That's definitely not the way out. On to the next door! Carl chuckles again, and I feel myself clinging to his attempt at humor just to keep myself sane. The next door opens up to what looks like a bathroom. It's definitely not a modern one, though, since it's complete with a pull chain from the high tank. Well, at least we've got all the essentials, right? The next door reveals a room full of tools and chains hanging from the ceiling, along with a sawhorse. The walls, though, are lined with wooden planks, and Carl gently sets me against the hallway wall before hurrying in and peering at the wood. Fuck! It's just concrete behind it! I don't bother to ask what the hell is going on again. I'm just starting to accept that where we are we can't be explained. More doors are open, 12 in all. One is completely white and empty, another contains a frilly bedroom, which is where Carl says he woke up. Further along, we come across what looks like an office, along with a room decorated with sofas and a chandelier. When we reach one of the doors in the last hall, though, something is different. The first thing I notice is the smell. Though it's faint, I can tell it's sweet in the most disgusting way possible. Yeah, it's gonna be rotting meat. Ugh, what is that? Raven holds a hand up to his nose as we approach the second to last door in the last hall. This one is clearly damaged. The wood is splintered in the middle, bulging out slightly as if it had been punched from the other side. We all stare at it for a moment, the smell growing stronger. Then it hits me. Oh God, do you think... I can't finish, covering my muzzle with both hands. Raven, who had been right up next to the door, steps back with an arm up around his face, looking like he's about to throw up. I imagine the smell is a lot worse for him. Maybe we should skip this one for now. Carl hesitates, then gently sets me down against the wall again. We need to check every door. This could be the way out, you know? He looks back at me, but I don't say anything, just grimacing at the door. That's a very stupid idea. Do not open that door. He holds out a hand to Raven. Knife! After handing it over, Raven takes several more steps back, further up the hall. I press my hands to my muzzle, readying myself and shut my eyes. As Carl turns the knob, I grip my teeth. The room has no illumination, therefore we have to rely on the light from the hallway to see inside. As the light from the opening door spreads across the room, I see that it's rather simple. The walls are concrete, peppered with craters and rocks. The floor is smoother, but with webs of cracks in its surface. I can't see the ceiling, but I do see what's hanging from it. Once the door opens completely, there's enough light to fully take in exactly what it is. A noose, frayed and old-looking, but unmistakably a noose. Carl stares at it, then sticks his head in further to look back and forth before stopping back to close the door. What was it? What was it? Oh. Ah, shit. Okay. Raven calls up from the hall, his hands clasped nervously together. I notice then that the rotting smell is completely gone now, instead of getting stronger when Carl opened the door. Nothing! Empty room! Huh. That's weird. Let's see. Carl opened the door. Yeah, that's weird. Huh. I see Carl visibly trying to keep his breathing under control as he holds the knife out to Raven before bending down in front of me again. Really? Oh, thank God. Carl trembles as he stands up with me in tow. As the husky moves on to the final door, I lean in next to Carl's cheek. You okay? Did you see anything? He turns his head towards mine, touching his cheek to mine. Aside from the rope, no. It's hard to say whether or not I believe him, or if he's just trying to protect me from whatever else he saw in there. Either way, I don't press for it. The last door is locked. It's big and made of small logs. Its deep brown color contrasts with all the others. Raven jiggles the handle a few times, and Carl tries to look into the cracks between the logs, but it's completely black. So that's it. That's all the doors. I'm starting to feel a certain level of panic again, now that we know that we're stuck. Carl, I think, picks up on that and comes over to where I'm leaning against the wall to set a hand on my shoulder. Hey, it's alright, man. We haven't checked the attic either. I mean, there aren't any windows, so like you said, we're probably in a basement or something, right? The reassuring hand feels good, but it's not exactly enough to keep me from feeling a certain level of despair. Honestly, I think I'm still dreaming right now. Carl doesn't say anything to that. Raven sidles up next to us. Well, dream or not, I'm still pretty hungry. We both glance at Raven, and I can't help but give a little laugh at the grin on his face. I guess at least for now, it's best to just not think about it. We head back to the kitchen, which doesn't take very long because every door on the left leads to it. We all split up to search the many cupboards and drawers of the kitchen for food. We come up mostly empty, only finding silverware and cooking utensils here and there. Because of my injury, I cover a lot less ground, only able to hobble around along the counter, using it as a crutch as I move down a line of cupboards. Even if we were able to find any food, there's no way I'd be able to cook it. The only thing I've ever been able to make on my own was a grilled cheese sandwich back when I was in high school. Even then I'd almost burned down the house when I dropped a piece of bread on the gas stove. In a panic, I threw the flaming bread across the kitchen to the living room. I smile at the memory as I open the last cupboard along the wall, and right in front of me is a block of cheese on a glass plate. Next to it is a loaf of bread in a plastic bagging, and a small square of butter wrapped in a wax paper. I stare for a moment, waiting for the food in front of me to disappear. I even blink a few times to be sure. Guys? What's up? You seeing this? What? Cheese, bread, and butter? I stand to the side and Raven perks up. Ooh, you found food! I swear I already checked that cupboard. Raven is next to me a few seconds later, reaching in to take out the food. For a moment, I swear the bread just blurs as he pulls it out, and I have to shut my eyes for a moment to keep from feeling sick. I feel Carl support me from behind with his hands on my shoulders. Whoa, dude, you alright, Chase? I grab onto the counter again. Yeah, it's just... Carl waits for a moment. What? I was thinking about grilled cheese before I opened the cupboard. Like, you just wanted a grilled cheese sandwich really bad and it popped up? Sort of. Huh. Carl walks up to the bread and bends over, observing it closely. It looks real. It is real. Raven walks up to the cupboard where he had pulled the food from it and closes it. Alright, I'm wishing for a steak. He closes his eyes for a moment, then reaches out to pull the cupboard back open, smiling expectantly. It's empty. Well, grilled cheese isn't bad. Raven moves down the counter to grab one of the pans hanging from the rack. Carl moves over to my side as Raven turns the gas stove on with a click, click, click of the igniter. Dude, I think one of the important things to do right now is to stop questioning this place. Like, we just can't make sense of it. I fold my arms. It has to be a dream. Carl puts an arm around me. Maybe, but dude, I'm just glad I'm not here alone. I nod in agreement. Yeah, I don't think I'd be able to deal with that. Let's just take it one step at a time for now, man. I manage a small smile. Are you high right now? Carl laughs. Man, I wish. I hear the sizzling of the melting butter as Raven plops it into the pan. Carl and I go about setting slices of bread setting slices of cheese in the bread as Raven starts searing them. The action of making food is enough to calm me down, at least a little bit, and the other two keeping high spirits lifts mine. Before long, there are 6 grilled cheese sandwiches stacked on a plate. They look good, but after the first bite, I almost let the food fall back out of my mouth. What the fuck? I look over to Carl and see Raven pulling similar faces. It kinda tastes like chalk. You know what chalk tastes like? Yeah, I ate some when I was a kid. He has a point. It's dry and crumbly, almost inedible. Well, it still sort of tastes like grilled cheese. Sort of. I don't think this is food. It's not that bad. Besides, it's all we've got. Raven forces another bite, and so does Carl. I can't bring myself to do it. My ankle, the smoke, the dead body smell, and the noose. It's all too much for me to deal with right now. I watch Carl and Raven talk back and forth, and I'm again struck by how surreal this all feels. I think back to the time I first got stoned from a stupid pot muffin. How nothing felt real, how I felt like I wasn't in control. It's like that, only 10 times worse. I wonder if the others feel the same. Something ebbs to the surface of my mind, trying to break through the veil of fog shrouding my mind. What are we doing? Why are we sitting here eating when we should be trying to figure out a way to get the fuck out? I open my mouth. Oh. Oh dear. A middle option. I struggle to keep my food down and instead choose to look hard at the tablecloth. You not hungry? Raven is looking intently at my half-finished sandwich. Nah, you can have it. I slide my glass plate across the table to Raven. Carl watches me but doesn't say anything, slowly chewing. Subconsciously note that he'd eaten around the crust, leaving those on his plate. We started discussing what else we might be able to do here, other possibilities on how we could get out. The attic is really the only place we haven't been yet, but because it's so dark, we're not so sure about going. Well, why don't we sleep on it and figure out what to do when we wake up? Raven yawns widely. That sounds good to me. Feels like it's been hours. It does feel that way. God, you guys are making me yawn. But without our phones, it's really impossible to tell. Leaving our plates where they are on the table, Raven leads us back out into the hallway. It takes us a few minutes to find the right door, considering everything looks identical, though we take special care to avoid the damaged door. As Raven moves into the bedroom, Carl leans against the wall, turning his head to talk back to me. Hey, we're gonna be alright, okay? I look back at the one green eye I can see and will myself to squash the boiling pit of dread in my stomach. Okay, it's just that I can't believe this is happening, you know? I gotcha! I just want you to know I'll be here for you, okay? I look back at his gaze for a while, to the point where I think he's getting uncomfortable. I sigh. You guys are just acting really weird about all this. Yeah? Well, I guess Raven is being Raven, but you're acting different. Really? How? I swallow. Just yesterday you were throwing up over a job interview. Yeah, now you're the level-headed one while I'm freaking out. I laugh a little. I just don't understand what's going on is all. Carl sets me down against the wall, then turns to me with a hug. Hey man, I don't know either. I'm just trying to keep it together. Just trying to keep it together too. The hug surprises me, but I take it gratefully. I stare over his shoulder at the uniform hallway. Despite Carl's efforts, the worrying feeling returns. Raven pokes his head around the doorway. Hey guys, that little sofa thing is awesome. I'll sleep there. You two can have the bed. Oh. Ah. Oh my god. Well, that's not good. Someone got their watermelon juice on that knife. That knife is going to be all sticky now. And of course, I dream. I'm running through endless hallways. All kinds of hallways, including one that looks like a space station, another that looks like a medieval castle. And each one I run into locked doors because of... Ooh, a castle, you say? A space station? Could that be at Astra? A castle? Interesting. And each one I run into locked doors. Because of this, I can only move through the halls, never knowing what's behind those doors. Actually, that reminds me of Heroes Advent. That's what I was thinking, Heroes Advent. Maybe Heroes Advent had a little inspiration from this. I don't know if the author of that has even played this game. Eventually I wake up, but my dead limbs and heavy head tell me I'm not awake, not fully. I brace myself and shut my eyes again. My heart thumps and my stomach churns with the disappointment of knowing I'm still in that fucking bedroom. The one that tells me I'm still stuck in a nightmare that's beyond the one I'm currently in. I feel things move about the room, hear things that sound like whining, crying, and screaming. Then I hear something in the ceiling moving above me. It has many legs like a spider that weighs hundreds of pounds. And then I'm free. What the f... I hold still as the gradual release of the paralysis seeps through my muscles and joints. At this point I feel like I've mostly learned how to cope with the nightmares. That thought would make me happy if I wasn't so crushed that I'm still here in this actual nightmare. My anxiety rises back up in my chest as I realize how fucked up this actually is. How much sense this doesn't actually make. As far as I can tell, we've been drugged somehow and moved to this underground hellhole as an experiment of some kind. Someone in Echo had to have done this. One of the crazy old people, maybe Duke. He probably built this underground maze just to watch us lose our minds, probably getting off to it at the same time. I grip the bedsheets and grit my teeth, grimacing at the ceiling as I try not to cry. That had to be it. This isn't some kind of supernatural alternate dimension. This is real, and someone's fucking with us. We're probably being watched by cameras that are set up in corners and peepholes right now. That idea sends a shiver down my spine, and I glance to my left, scanning the walls for any inconsistencies. We need to get out of here as soon as we can, and the sooner we start moving, the better. I hear a small whining grunt to my left at that moment, and I look over, only to find that Carl isn't in the bed next to me. I stare for a moment at the tangled mess of sheets on his side of the bed, trailing off to the side. Carl? Another grunt, then I hear Carl. At least, I think it's Carl. His voice is deep, rasping. It sounds like he's trying on some sort of weird accent that I've never heard him use. My name... Soiled. Slowly, I sit up, and that's when I see something white sitting next to the bed. Ah! Oh, God! Ooh! Ooh, Lord. Jesus! I jump and slide back on my ass away from it, almost falling off the other side of the bed. Staring at it for a few seconds longer allows me to make out the clear shape of horns under a bed sheet. Carl is sitting next to the bed with a white sheet over his head, swaying back and forth gently. What the fuck, Carl? I whisper to him, my earlier exclamation sounding way too loud in this quiet room. I look over at Raven, but somehow he's still curled up on the sofa, fast asleep. Returning my attention to Carl, I jump again as I see that he's staring straight at me, or would be staring at me if there wasn't a sheet in the way. Carl, what are you doing? This isn't fucking funny at all! I push myself off the bed, leaning against it to take the weight off my swollen ankle, now twice its original size, as I stand in front of Carl. I reach out to take the sheet off his head, but I hesitate. The horns, they look bigger than they should be, and the voice is so different. Dining. Love. Carl, you're scaring the shit out of me. My voice is weak and it cracks at the end as I lose my nerve. Had this place been getting to Carl more than he'd been letting on? But then maybe he was just sleepwalking. I remember him doing that when he slept over at my house years ago. I reach out again, more slowly this time, but again I hesitate. I can't shake the feeling that if I pull this off, it won't be Carl. Suddenly, the horned head shakes back and forth violently, the grunting reaching a fever pitch. Shocked, I fall back on my rear, yelping as my ankle is jolted. I lean back on my hands, watching with wide eyes. The shaking is so wild the sheet starts to slip off of the head, as if whatever it is under the sheet is trying to shake it off. I brace myself, watching as the sheet slides slowly from the horns to reveal... Carl. Of course it's Carl. He stares back at me with bleary eyes like he's just woken up. I swallow hard. Carl, what are you doing? He's silent for a moment, then finally speaks. I know what to do! Where are we supposed to be looking? Anywhere! I know it's here! I lean uselessly against the dining room table again, watching them. I'm biting my lip, trying not to lose my cool, trying to absorb everything Carl has just told me. You said James Hendricks himself came to you in your dream, right? Carl huffs but doesn't look at me. Yup! And he told you that you had to find something? Carl gets down on his hands and knees and looks under the stove. I know it sounds stupid, but that's what happened. I frown. You know, I had a dream about a giant spider crawling through the ceiling, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to be searching around for a spider in the ceiling. No, this was different. I've never had a dream like that before. He stands back up and looks right at me. It felt like he was actually in my brain, telling me. I look back at him for a while, not wanting to tell him he's going crazy just like I am. Well, it's kind of vague to just tell you that you need to find something, isn't it? He told me other stuff. Carl moves closer to me, staring to look through the various decorum of the dining room. Like what? Carl lifts up a vase, then looks inside. Said this place is chaos. Left over memory from the old house. That still doesn't really make sense. And then he organized it for us, into separate sections to help us figure this out and to clear his name so we can get out of here. How's clearing James Hendricks' name going to end this? I throw my hands in the air to gesture at everything that this is. Carl bends down to look under the dining room table and stands up right in front of me. What else do we have to go off on? Hey, I found something weird. We both look over at Raven, who holds up a corkscrew. Carl turns back to me, ignoring the husky. If we find it, that locked door will open and we'll be able to get out. If he's here, why doesn't he just show himself to us to do this for us? He said he's weak, that there are other forces in this house that have much more control than he does. He can only do so much. I gape at him. Do you hear yourself right now? Carl frowns and moves past me. What does his name even need to be cleared of? I feel tears starting to sting my eyes again, because now I think I'm the only one here who realizes how crazy this all is. Don't you guys get what's actually going on here? Raven stops rustling through the drawers and looks up at me. And cats are playing with each other, if you guys can hear them squealing in the background. You okay, Chase? No! Because someone has fucking kidnapped us and put us in this crazy maze dungeon, and we should be trying to figure out how we can get out. It's quiet for a moment as Raven and Carl exchange glances. It's okay, Chase. We're gonna get out of here. I lean my head back in despair, about to cover up my face with my hands when something catches my eye. In the chandelier, a small white envelope is wedged between the glass ornaments. I squint to make sure it's not my watering eyes creating an illusion. Yes, there's definitely an envelope up there. Diamond patterns from the crystal cast across its surface. Guys? Carl ignores me as he continues to shuffle through the things on the counter behind us. Alright guys, I'm going to pause it right here. Thank you all so much for watching. This was a spooky-ass episode. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell. Leave a super thanks or a tip if you can. It always helps. And until the next video, I love you all, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!